Hey you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love The Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned. My friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey, we are now live on another awesome episode of Indie Creator Spotlight. And with us today, as always, we have my good friend Patrick.
Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well and staying healthy and enjoying the beginning of this year.
Oh, totally. And we also have another awesome individual, Phil from Dark Discussions Podcast. How's it going?
Good. Happy New Year to you, Leo.
Happy New Year. Patsy, would you like to introduce our awesome guests?
Oh, we have a whole bunch of guests today, and I would love to introduce them. So today, we're going to be discussing the film Agent Revelation that these fine folks are obviously a part of. We are going to be discussing it with writer, director, and star Derek Ting. Derek, thank you for joining us today.
How's it going?
We are going well, thank you. I'm glad you're here with us, and we have a lot to talk about. So I'm excited to get into this. We are also joined by Eve Maura, who played Belle.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And we are joined, last but certainly not least, by Mr. Matthew Ryan Burnett, who played Aaron.
That's correct. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we're doing all right. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So this was a hell of a fun movie. So I have tons and tons of questions about this because I like to take lots of notes. So the first thing I'm going to say is, Derek, I'm going to guess you are a fan of a lot of different sci-fi films over the years, because there's a lot of little elements that you get to see throughout the entire film, and I'm talking not just contemporary, but some stuff from the past. So what are some of your influences that kind of helped inform your creation of this world?
I grew up on 80s and 90s action sci-fi flicks, Aliens, Terminator, Predator, movies like that.
That makes sense. You can definitely see a little bit of that influence.
Pat, if I could interject for a second. For folks who don't know, Derek stars, wrote, and directed the film. So you're a man of all trades, isn't that right, Derek? You've done this now on this film and its predecessor, right? Because this is a sequel? Or at least in the same universe, anyway. Right?
That's right, yeah. It's the sequel. We had a pilot released in 2017 where we're re-releasing it. So, it was a movie shot entirely in the desert, and it was to see if I could shoot action. So we shot out there. We had live weapons, and it went well. So Agent Revelation is kind of the movie that I wanted to make because I had done some research on what's called the Dulce base. So that's like kind of this conspiracy theory where people are experimenting on aliens in an underground base in somewhere in New Mexico. So I had that idea kind of set, and then from the sequel, then you actually get to see me sort of like making the movie that I wanted to make, essentially.
I was going to ask you if it was inspired by any stuff like that. I am very familiar with Dulce base. Yes.
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong too, right? I just read
it's either Dulce or Dolce. I don't know. Dolce is definitely how I pronounced it when I saw it, because that's the Italian word for sweet. So, and that's exactly how it's spelled.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. There's a lot of alien conspiracy I've researched, like the Anunnaki. I might have heard references to like Project X and Nibiru. Like you just kind of go down this rabbit hole, and you're like, okay, well, this just keeps going. So infusing that with
X
like
thing.
different. Yeah, you heard it in the movie, right? There's like just little kind of like touches like that. Hopefully, people pick it up. People that appreciate this type of stuff.
Totally.
Which I certainly do. Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
Yeah, no, same here. Matter of fact, I fall asleep to Ancient Aliens every night, and it's just.
Well, you heard the New York Post put something out that they're going to release all this information that's been undisclosed for a while by this year, I think, about extraterrestrials and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're about to find out a lot more information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now,
love that
one thing that's amazing about tonight is that Derek is actually in Hong Kong, so technology is a marvel for what it can do to get us together from all over the world, and even Matt in California. Even Matt, how did you guys get involved with this film? I know the film was made in California, so Derek obviously came over and stuff, but did you guys have to go in and read to get the part, or did you folks know an agent that already worked with Derek?
Well, I think we both had different. It happened differently with us. Matt had a little bit of experience in firearms, I believe, and I did the audition process when. And I heard that there were a lot of people they auditioned for these roles, and it's Mark Tillman. He's a great casting director. I think he did the original It, if I'm correct.
Wow.
And he was amazing, and we had to use firearms in the casting, not real ones. I mean, I didn't walk him with a gun or anything. Not this one.
Thankfully.
I had a couple other ones. No. And we were asked if we could do stunts and things of that nature. So I mean, it was a nice audition, and they really wanted to see if we had what it takes to play these parts, because the conditions with the warehouse where we're shooting were supposed to be hot, and it leaded to the role. You know, it's supposed to be intensified. So, you know, they wanted to make sure we're up for it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we had over like 5,000 people audition for well, at least submit for that role.
Oh wow!
And I was specifically looking for the role of Belle, so Eve beat out everybody actually.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. 5,000. Wow! Holy smokes!
Well, it shows in the film.
Actually, you know, the funny thing is, so like, in the casting we had everyone kind of like doing like a little bit of martial arts and a little bit of handling the weapons. So you just outside the room, I was, obviously was inside the room, but outside the room, you probably heard like going, bang, like things like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you could hear it down the street, and people are doing push-ups in the room. You have the guys doing stuff. I'm like, oh wow, like what is going on? But Matt, you had a different experience.
I missed out on all the fun. Well, I don't know if I missed out on all the fun. My experience was a little bit different. I became involved because the company that I am the spokesperson for, we're an airsoft company, and in addition to kind of retailing airsoft guns to the public, we also supply props to filmmakers and filmmaking companies. And so the majority of my experience was on the kind of the prop weapons side and gearing everybody out. And so originally I came in to work with Derek on selecting some costumes and things that he wanted for the different characters in the film, and kind of picking a personalized weapons platform that actor or character would be using in the film. And so from there, from kind of that like advisory role, I guess, part of helping with the costuming and stuff, it worked out that he had a character in the film that was an armorer of sorts, and an expert on the weapons used by the different characters and by the robotic unit enforcement trainers. I don't want to give too much away, but anyway, so basically it just kind of paralleled what I kind of do in real life, and so it worked out that way to play a role in the film. It was a lot of fun, and that's something I expected. So yeah,
nice. Now, go on. Yeah, please go, Pat.
All right, I was going to just to touch real quick on what Matt was just saying. I did like the acronym that was used for the enforcement.
Yeah.
That's good.
Otherwise, it doesn't spell anything.
It'd be Ruettes.
Yeah,
it didn't ring as well.
Yeah, not quite the same, but I like that. It's like, well, it sounds like N at the beginning. Let's just roll with that. That's a good call.
By the way, I wrote the role for Matt. I met him a long time ago. I wrote it for you, man. So
thank you, dude. I can't even explain how amazing that is, and how that makes me feel, and what a joy it was to participate in the project in general. It was, I would have taken it either way. I would have helped you out or been in, and luckily I got to do both.
Now, my question, going over to Derek. Now, obviously, this is a continuation of a story you already started to tell. Now, writing and directing, and also starring, did you feel like there was added pressure on yourself, or did you find it easier because you knew exactly how this character was supposed to act and interact with everyone around him, and you knew how you wanted the story to progress?
I mean, writing, directing it's definitely difficult, because you can't, when you're in it, you can't really see what's going on. So you have to do it, maybe do like 3 takes and then go to the monitor. And then if there's multiple characters, that's when it gets pretty tricky, because then I have to look at every single person to make sure that they're doing what is necessary and kind of correct them or adjust them. So it's not an easy process, but I've done it for 3 movies now, so I kind of have a workflow. And then it really helps to have great actors. You don't have to do as much when they're really good. So that's what we focused on, and everyone's pretty amazing in the film. I'm curious what they think, though. I'm curious what they think. It's like, walking onto a set and this guy's like back and forth.
Oh, well, I know that it definitely takes a lot of work. I couldn't imagine writing, going through rewrites even on set, and then directing and making sure everything has it's in its place, and then acting and getting into the character. It's a lot to take on. I mean, you have to really be prepared. But you definitely were, and the actors were amazing in the set. I cannot get over the fact that it looks bare almost when we walked in, but the special effects and everything, I'm watching the screen, I'm like, what the fuck? This is amazing. Like, you see the lights, you see the spaceship. Like, they really did an amazing job. I can't stress enough, like, how impressed I was. Extremely impressed.
Given how at times it was challenging to kind of put yourself in the space, knowing that it might look completely different, after visual effects were applied. I can only imagine how much more difficult acting on a green background with green balls and like props would be compared to like actually having the props and the sets that we had. And with regard to like, how Derek was able to, I can't fathom how you were able to be outside yourself and see the scene overall in the moment of the scene, and then still act in it and know that you were getting what you wanted. And ultimately it flowed really seamlessly, being able to watch you as Derek, the director, reviewing the scene or going over the scene and watching everybody block out, and then to immediately kind of insert yourself into the scene and roll through it in character, and then immediately snap back into that directorial role. God, there must have been a million things going on in your head, and I don't know that that's something that I could do. So I was really impressed.
I would imagine we might have some moments like Gollum in the Two Towers, where Derek's looking at the screen and watching himself, and it's like, oh, you missed your mark. No, I didn't. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're just arguing with yourself back and forth. Like, that would be kind of funny. But
and all the actors are like,
quiet, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of wrong there, Pat, because Derek mentioned that all the actors that he worked with were excellent and professional, and he's one of them. So I doubt he was yelling at himself. There you go.
I talk to myself every so often.
I was going to say, like, it was a little, Derek's somewhat stoic, and so half the time you didn't know if he was talking to you in character and giving you direction in character, or if that was just Derek and he was giving you direction. Sometimes it was like, is he talking to me, the character? Am I supposed to respond, or am I taking direction and I need to now? Are we filming now? What are we doing now? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You're right. I totally forgot about that, because there was a couple times we were in a conversation and I thought we were just talking. We were just discussing something. I'm like, oh, wait, no, we're in character right now.
And then he's looking at you for like a response.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So yeah.
He looks at you like.
So note to Derek, wear a hat next time. Like, this is director Derek. This is actor Derek.
Now, Derek, speaking of all these different hats that you were wearing, so to say, by doing that, by having your own script and you being the director and you being the star, I'm assuming that may have helped get investors. I mean, because first of all, doing it yourself, if you didn't do it yourself, you probably would be obviously waiting to try to shop your script around or whatnot. But since you'd had it all planned, was it easy to get investors to help out and to get the great cast and special effects that you have in the film?
Yeah, actually, so this is my fourth film. So the main investor is the same guy from my first film. So he's continued on. We've had a really great working relationship. So yeah, it was definitely easier. However, the story is that I overspent my production budget for this film. So when I went into post-production, I was basically left with, I was in the red essentially. So I had to edit the film by myself for like 6 months and then show it to him, hoping that he would, fund the post-production, because I knew it was going to be, after editing, I was like, oh no, there's like 500 visual effects in here. Like, this is going to be much more than I thought we needed. So I was pretty much really worried that the film wouldn't finish because there's just so much in the post. But he saw it. We were sitting in this conference room and playing it on the little tiny like portable projector, bad color, no sound, nothing. He watched it, and then a week later I pitched him. I said, look, I want to finish this film the right way. I want to do the visual effects well. I want to do the sound well. Let's go for it. And he said yes. But that week was like, oh man, thinking this is it, it's over, or we go. But he said yes. So
nice. Now, Eve, you're done a lot of stuff I see on your IMDb, and I was curious if being as a soldier, I guess, in this film was any more difficult or easy than, say, some of your other roles in the horror films or the television shows that you've been in?
Well, I'm lucky enough to have played a soldier before, but however, it is different, the mannerisms, and you just can't hold yourself the same way you would hold other characters. So to go into that and to see where the character comes from, and there's so many different elements. So like if I'm playing a scream queen or girl next door, I would be a lot more lighthearted than this character. This character had seen things and things have happened to her. So, I have to take that into account and why she is where she's at and what made her become what she is. So, it was difficult as much as any other character would be, but it was fun too. It's fun to be able to experience something like that without really going through the rigorous training that one actually would for being a soldier.
Yeah, that was going to be something that I was curious about, like how much different training, because you see a lot of different, tactics and martial, not so much martial arts. I mean, there's obviously martial arts, but there's a lot of different stuff that's being used throughout the film, different combat tactics and whatnot. How much training did each of you guys already have, and how much did you need to endure for each role?
Well, we were lucky enough to have an amazing stunt team that Derek had worked with before. Correct, for Agent One, is that right, Derek?
yeah, Action Factory.
Uh-huh.
They're great. They're top. They do all the big Hollywood blockbusters. So, and Chad Bennett. I did a minute and a half sequence, like a extra couple days, and Chad Bennett was a tactical advisor on other big shows, and he served as well. But obviously Matt, I relied a lot on Matt in terms of the military simulation stuff, clearing rooms, all that stuff. Whenever I thought, is this the right way? I'd ask Matt essentially. So we had him on set as well.
But
all the guys were pretty well experienced. So, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, which is kind of funny because I have no military experience. I was never in the military, but the majority of my experience that I was able to bring to the set and to the project was not only from the service members that I have trained with specifically for the work that I do with Airsoft, but also, kind of my own training, and really through playing, combat sports like paintball, airsoft, things like that. You really do develop a skill set and a way of understanding gear and firearms that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise. And a lot of those things kind of cross over to real firearm use and vice versa. So I have had a lot of training, but it's non-formal, I suppose you could say.
Well, Eve, you shot with weapons before too. You shot with veterans or something too. I remember in the
on tactical courses and I'm actually going to take another one later this month. So I enjoy it. I enjoy going to the gun range, doing tactical courses, and any type of military things, outdoor things. It's fun,
in the audition room, let me tell you, I saw a lot of women. Belle is not an easy role to find. And, Eve is she's attractive, and she's like the girl next door, and she's tough, and she can move, and she can act. There's so many different things going on. That's what Eve pulls off.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm like, woo.
Really? I was trying different actresses, and then I was like, okay, that one maybe, and then Eve came in, and I was like, that's it. We don't need, I did audition some other women, but I was like, oh,
there's some tough competition in the lobby. I noticed. Some really great actresses out there, and stunt women all across the board. When I was the first audition, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm getting this. You never really know. You don't know what they're looking for. And because some of those girls, they were named actresses. And then I went in there for the second one. I think there's a third one, I believe. Or maybe, but still, I was really, I didn't think I was going to get it at all. But those are the ones you get,
She did the Sanford Meisner thing where she breathes. I said, turn the corner with the handgun. And she went like this. You did this kind of breathing, psyched yourself up, and then she went in, and I was like, yeah.
But there's so many.
Remember that? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
that was
I do. That was with the gun. That was right outside the door. And there's so many techniques when it comes to acting. I don't think, a lot of people think they've learned one thing and that's it. And you have to constantly be training, constantly be learning. And I'm reading Bernard Hiller, one of his books right now, and just because you never know, things change and roles change, and you have to learn something different for other roles. Sometimes you can't stick to the same routine or training. Spice things up a little bit.
Well, we do have the trailer for the movie. Derek, would you like to introduce it?
Sure, and here it is. I don't know. Do you want me to tell the log line? It's about a
just hit him with the in a world where
and here it is.
That's awesome.
And, so when does it come out on VOD? Is it in physical media?
If you want to check out this movie, it's coming out on January 22nd on all major platforms. It's on premium video on demand in North America. We're rolling out to different countries like Japan and South Africa afterwards. And this is the film that I really wanted to make. It's fun. It's got a lot of action, a lot of sci-fi, and I think a really strong story behind it. And it was just a pleasure to work on. So, check out a short trailer about the film.
Here we go.
The Kidians are an alien race that settled on Earth 500,000 years ago. They are back, Jim. The ash has great power and is used as a weapon by the aliens, and we need you to make contact with one of them. Try to find out what their purpose is now.
There are a lot of things here at the base that will defy the logic the rest of the world knows.
When I saw what the ash was capable of, I wanted to run.
You should have.
Let's go!
In protecting the ones we love, the world can be stronger. You must trust yourself.
Let's get this. Hurry! Now, as we mentioned earlier, that this is a sequel to the pilot. How can people see the pilot before they go to see this?
I think it's re-releasing January 26th, and it'll go from there from different platforms. So we're looking at some other potentials, but it takes time to actually place these things. So you'll be able to catch it probably January 26th on major platforms.
Nice. Excellent. We'll keep a lookout for it. Yeah, I definitely need to get more of the story after seeing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say I did like there were several aspects of the script and the way things were cast that kind of went against certain tropes, and I'm not talking about like sci-fi tropes and stuff like that, although I guess technically one of them. I have my notes here. The nice take on the programmer and / hacker stereotype with Billy sitting there, with all the screens in front of her, eating snacks. Normally it's like, you have a heavy set guy sitting there, and instead, like, you have this, nice looking blonde woman instead. And there was another part that I don't want to give away because it's partly a spoiler, but it does have to do with your character, Derek, having a specific condition that you don't normally see in a male protagonist.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
I've watched a lot of sci-fi movies, so I think it's always about you got to change it up. I actually nowadays I get bored because I know what's going to happen. I know the story, so I think a lot of times you can make a mistake where you change things so drastically that then the film gets lost or people get confused. So I don't think that's necessary. I think people still want to see solid entertainment, but when you give it that edge, you give it a little bit of a taste of something different, then I think that's when things work. Essentially, like when they did the iPhone, it's not like smartphones or that was created. They made those earlier, but then when they brought it all together, it had all the same elements, but it was just done well. That's the way I see my films, is sort of, for lack of a better word or analogy, it's like, I'm gonna make a hamburger for you. It's gonna taste good. You're gonna enjoy it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna throw in something completely different into that hamburger that we're just gonna be like, I'm just not gonna taste that. So
pineapple and a fried egg. And I will thank whoever conveniently timed their phone to go off right when we were talking about that. That was the best timing ever. Like, just to illustrate the point, that was perfect.
So Desert Fox Airsoft has been commenting a lot, and his most recent one wants to know spin-off show on a streaming platform with Matt. When is it going to happen?
I don't think anybody wants to watch that much Aaron. Trust me. He's a fun character, but he's not an action hero. So,
well, I'm writing Agent 3, so I screened the film in the summer of last year, and I've gained some new investors. So obviously, oh, I think I froze.
No, you're still there.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Looks like my video froze. But yeah, so we are continuing the trilogy for sure. So, the characters come back and we see I'm able to develop more of their story, but there's so much. And then I mean, if it's successful, then I'd love to do spin-offs. I'd love to do, the Matt origin story or the Eve origin story. Belle and
Action
Aaron.
figures, lunch boxes.
I'd love
the
to
whole
watch
thing.
a story about like what made Belle such a hard ass. Like,
That would be awesome.
what has she seen? I've got to know. Like, what has she been through? Like, just every day. Like, what is it?
Well, we're friends with a couple of guys that are making a movie, and the producer that is putting it together loved the story so much that instead of a movie, he's turning it into a series. So, I mean, maybe at some point, if there's so much story to tell, you could do a flip flop.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of the success of part 2, what we're going to see, I mean, if people really come out and really like it, then 3 will be even bigger and even bigger. It's already got so many. I was mentioning, I mean, I'll just say spaceship battles and different sci-fi concepts. So from there, then let's see where it goes. I think series are where it's at nowadays. So, yeah.
Nice.
Gives you more of a chance it gives you more of a chance to expand on the characters and really delve into, the backstories and there's something to be said for character development in a 2-hour movie as opposed to, a 10-episode series that's, an hour each time. It really gives you that opportunity to, branch out and really tell your story with your true vision, I think. I will say that, not to say that, this didn't have, the growth and character development that I would look for in a film. But I'm sure given the opportunity, you would really like to give more to, the different folks that are there, especially the doctor there, played by Carol Wayers. I'm curious about her because I know she was in both films as the same character as well, which I found intriguing.
Carol, yeah, she's awesome, and she's a great actress. Man,
yeah,
she creates that type of intrigue. If you notice in this film, everyone's got like kind of this mini arc. I wouldn't say a major arc, but a mini arc. I mean, Aaron's character definitely does change from the beginning. Belle as well, yeah, and Carol has a major arc, which we don't want to spoil or anything. But,
yeah.
She's great. She's an international actress. She's been in she's from Belgium. Let me hopefully get this right here. But she's been in a lot of French productions. She's been on Netflix. She had her own show called Double J. That was an entire season on France TV. So she's definitely been in a lot and would be on the more international front. So you may not have seen her, but you've seen her in Manhattan as well. So. But yeah, and I knew her through a friend, Eric Mark, who's associate producer on this film. And I think I saw her in a play or something in Marina Del Rey. And then I was like, wow, she's amazing. We need to have her. And so the first movie is really, I just put together a bunch of friends and we went to, get the right people that were, right for the parts, but it really wasn't as formal as it was for part 2.
So, Matt, how was it flying a spaceship or aircraft, I should say?
Harder than I thought it would be. All of my research on flying vehicles really would have led me to believe that there was a joystick or some sort of analog control with which to pilot the craft. And when I was presented with an entire touchscreen array, which is funny because, now that we've all seen kind of the Dragon capsule and what the future really looks like for space travel, it makes a lot more sense. But at the time, I'm kind of looking at all the controls like, I don't know what to do here. Thankfully, Billy knew how to fly, and I kind of just sat passenger and let her do all the flying. Yeah.
I did really like the Star Trek homage with talking to the computer.
Oh yeah.
You caught that.
Yes, I figured that's a nice touch, especially with Michael Dorn in the film. You got to throw that in there.
Funny thing is, that's actually my command to turn on my lights in the office.
Oh.
I love it. Love it.
That is awesome, Leo. Oh, that's great.
That is great.
Yeah. So Airsoft John Wick. What's that all about?
That was a pet project of a couple of guys and I at EVIC, the company where I do the airsoft content, and we saw a lack of entertaining content in airsoft on social media and YouTube for the sake of being entertaining. Most of the stuff you see, produced by airsoft channels and stuff is gameplay or reviews of products, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, you go to YouTube and you go online to watch movies and videos to be entertained. And so we wanted to entertain people, and obviously we don't have a cinematic budget. So it was filmed handheld with a gimbal, and we learned the stunts. In the first Airsoft John Wick, I learned the stunts for that day of. We shot that in one day, and then for the second one we did, which is really John Wick 3, because we had like a year off. Anyway, we couldn't line it up with the movies well enough. But anyway, the second one we did, obviously we got a bigger budget from the boss, which gave us better lighting, and we could actually hire a couple stunt guys to do some choreography for us. But that was a lot of fun. Interestingly, kind of similar lighting setup, similar, lighting feel to some of the segments in the agent scenes. And so that was kind of cool too, because this was an environment that I was used to. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I know this space. I know kind of how to move in this space and how to make this space that I'm inhabiting, look good or look appropriate. And so I think that did a little bit to kind of put Derek and I on the same page in terms of, character movements, or, is this reasonable? Isn't this, is this not reasonable? And so that kind of experience led to, I think, better, I would like to hope, better action scenes. Obviously, being a member of the cast, I didn't want to step on any of the choreographers' toes or, have any hand in saying, oh, do this, don't do that. But, it's kind of nice to be able to participate and then not have to be responsible for anything, Stop camera going, you should hold that this way. And then, it's just a
I'm just an actor.
Yeah, I'm just an actor. I don't know.
Actually, we did a short film together as a test for Agent Revelation way back even further. So, I mean, that's the type of stuff we do for development. And then, Matt is the spokesperson for EVIC. He's like the guy, and airsoft is huge, and it's fun. By the way, they let me play, and I tried it. It's so fun, and it's exhausting. It's very tiring. It's like a sport. But EVIC is he's a friend of mine who I've met. A friend of mine introduced him after my first movie. So I was in LA, college buddy, and EVIC said, "Hey, if you ever want to make a movie with weapons, let me know." And I was like, I had no idea what airsoft was. And then, fast forward, then I'm making this movie about weapons. I'm like, and I called him up, and then he's helped tremendously throughout, both films. So, and then along the way, that's how I met Matt. And I was like, who is this guy? Matt, by the way, studied theater in college. So I knew that Matt had potential chops to play this.
Is
You know?
studied. Yeah.
You know that. Where did you
you were a theater
class
major.
at the Groundlings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not so bad, right? Groundlings, that's like the top. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's
very funny in these
It's a
videos
class.
too, and he can move.
Well,
Yeah, there's definitely a comedic aspect to the character.
Well, it's one of those things where you read something on paper, and I'll be the first to admit, like, I've not done a film before. The extent of my knowledge in terms of like acting on screen is for, sales pitches and 10-minute entertaining content on YouTube for Airsoft. So I came into the whole experience like, completely blank slate, empty sponge. Give me all the information I can get. I really want to use this as a learning experience. And Derek was extremely, extremely helpful and took me under his wing and really, gave me a ton of pointers and kind of helped me when, I'm walking around going like, I don't know what's going on here. With that said, sometimes what you read on the page and the decisions that you make for a character that you're going to play are maybe completely different from what the director wants or envisions. And so it was really nice because Derek and I both kind of were on the same page for, who is this character that's kind of the armorer, but really he's more of the techno geek. And he's young and impressionable. And because he's not one of the cool, military guys on base, he obviously, isn't going to walk around with his chest puffed out. And so he's kind of wide-eyed throughout the whole journey and meeting and being around people who are clearly more badass than he is. And that was a fun role to play because it was, how do you play a somewhat nervous, excitable, guy who knows his stuff, but, isn't really, big man around campus or whatever. And so that was neat.
Kind of gave me shades of Seth Green in both The Italian Job and what's that one? Enemy of the State, where he was like the tech guy, but like he had his role where he was I don't want to say like a badass guy, but like in his own mind he knew exactly what he was doing and he knew what his value was, even though he didn't run around and flaunt it.
Well, exactly. So, and we all encounter that individual in our lives where, if you can get somebody, excited about something that they have a vast knowledge of, these people open up and they become, super, bright and lively, and they'll talk your ear off about a specific subject that they know a lot about. And that's really kind of the direction we wanted to go is, this guy that knows a lot about, a subject. And once you get him talking, he, kind of brightens up and opens up and becomes the life of the party in the room at the time. But, and you can see that, in the section where we talk about, the power and, where it comes from, and some of the other, kind of intro segments for the weapons platforms and things, and meeting Derek's character for the first time in the on screen, so you get that feeling, I think, or at least I hope.
I got Matrix vibes from that, like Matrix training vibes from that scene.
Yeah.
Intentional. you see. Of course, come on, one of the greatest movies.
Oh yeah.
But different though. We try to do it different. These are things that I love to see in movies, and we try to spice it up a little bit. So you don't want to throw things out just because you want to be different. As I said before, but yeah, one of the things that you notice about Matt, especially talking to him now, and again, is this discovery of his capabilities. It's a running theme throughout the film. You can see that is Matt, though. That's his. He's totally capable of many things, but this character, Aaron, discovers a lot of these things about himself as well.
True. Now, Eve, I had a question for you about your character, because your character, as Derek mentioned, it would be kind of cool to see where your character came from, the backstory and whatnot. And your character was complicated, rough, gruff, kind of damaged, a hard ass, maybe PTSD. Did you ever play such roles before, and that's why you were able to bring it so realistic into this film, or you're probably just a great actress? What is it?
No, well, actually, it's interesting that for the most part, the roles that I have been taking on for the past couple of years have been, one, I'm a ex-detective or a detective, a police officer who works under a high-level drug dealer. So a lot of the roles I'll play are meant for a man, or you would imagine a man to be in it, but there's softness around the character. So it's not just being this aggressive butch woman. There's femininity in it, and but there's a lot of toughness, and so I've been finding myself playing those characters more and more often. But all the characters are completely different, and but I feel like it's difficult for people to be able to have both sides, you know. And people, when they play something like that, they stick to one way, and they're just this butch, aggressive woman, and you don't see the character develop, and you don't see this vulnerability that's intentional for most characters, you know?
Yeah, you brought a lot of humanity to the character, I felt. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, especially the, again, trying to tiptoe around things. You know, it's like, I'm going to do what I think is right, despite the fact that it's going to personally cost me. I think that was definitely a main theme running through pretty much all of the characters, and everybody has that moment where they have to make this decision that it might not be in their best interest, but we're going to find out that, you know, the again, another classic sci-fi trope: the good of the many outweighed the needs of the few.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think we saw that from a lot of different characters. So, Derek, I think that was a good job giving everyone. It didn't feel repetitive. Like, everybody has their own cross to bear, for lack of a better term, and everybody has to navigate their own moral path. And I think you did that very well, and the actors obviously were able to bring that to life exceptionally well.
Yeah, it was good script writing for sure to get all that in there, and then the actors and actresses that you chose, were perfect for the roles to actually express what was written on the page. Speaking of that, did you let them, I guess, add to their own personal backstories of the characters? I mean, it may not even been in the movie, but did you have the characters created completely written down, or did you let some free rein go for the actors and actresses to make the characters their own?
Yeah, certainly they brought themselves and their character development to the characters in the film. You know, of course, when I'm writing, I'm imagining what these characters are like, how they're going to say it, the timing, and all that. But then it always, when a person comes in, they bring something else, something special, and I think that's what we see in there. But as a writer, I mean, as long as I make sure that they're sticking to their lines, but they're able to, ad-lib slightly. I think Matt did a couple of these improv things. Even in the ADR too, we added a lot of additional, like, what's your pause? You remember that? What's your pause?
Yeah.
And these kind of like military kind of communications. We added those later because I have a great dialogue editor, Jed Dodge. She's amazing. But yeah, things like that. All these little touches are edited throughout the post-production and during, to keep on improving the story flow.
I know we're running a little bit on time. We'll get a couple more questions in. I know earlier you were talking about when you're running out of money, you did some of the editing yourself. What was that process like? And what did you use for editing? Any issues that you had?
Oh yeah, well yeah, the visual effects, it was a story in and of itself, because I think that's interesting what Eve and Matt thought of it, because certainly I had some ideas and I had references kind of prepared, but I'm sure as an actor you're just kind of thinking like, how's this going to turn out? So I made it a point to make sure that the visual effects were really good, and it turned out that so I searched for 3 months to find the right post house, and I found through a friend, Julian. He did Pacific Rim, and we became friends in Beijing. We worked on a project in Beijing, China, and we just stayed in touch. And then he took the time to break down the entire film and then bring it to a post house that would do a really great job, and they have. So they're called DFFX, and they're right in Marina Del Rey. They're ex-Digital Domain guys. And then in terms of sound, I worked for a long time on that too as well. I was in LA like 3 times for what's called ADR, which is when you kind of like voice for the different parts and add breaths and all those other things about audio that you don't notice, but they make it more lively. So I was there 3 times, and then with all the different actors, spent the time for them to tweak things and then add those really interesting things that Eve might remember. Maybe she wants to tell the story. I was throwing things at her in the ADR.
Oh yeah.
Because you remember that?
Yeah, I had to get that, work it up and get my energy up, and I was dodging bullets or something at the time. But yeah, I remember I was things were getting thrown at me. It was great.
Yeah, because you have to relive the film like a year later, so it's like.
You have to get the scene. I'm like, and then look over here and jump around. And everyone thinks ADR is just sitting there and saying, and no, I think we were at it for 5 hours or so, and I was exhausted afterwards, because like, okay, you're running, and I'm just running in place, and I'm jumping on the ground, and so it was fun. It's cardio in place, but it brings you back. You have to match your voice. You have to match the intention, and it has to be there, even if it's just a whisper. It has to match, because if you just give off the words and it doesn't really, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, and it could totally take someone out of the film.
Oh, totally. I mean, the special effects were definitely on par, but you're right. Like, if the ADR or the sound effects are off, or just something doesn't sound right, your mind picks up on it, like right away, and it's just. It definitely throws you off, and I didn't notice any of that in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it was done really well, and that's one of the things that like you said, can just take you right out of the film. Like you totally lose your immersion. Like if the the soundtrack and somebody's mouth is not lined up right, it's like. This isn't, a 1960s Godzilla film, like where we're just throwing whatever we can at it.
Or when they take the shot of somebody's back of the head and they have like a long sentence that they're just rambling on about, they screwed up somewhere.
Yeah.
None of that here.
No, this was great ADR. You guys did great ADR, by the way. Yeah.
It was getting punched in the chest a lot.
And a lot of it was on-set recording. Actually, Matt, do you remember? So you noticed the armory was it was shot in a bunker in LA. That was super echoey, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was actually really hard to record in that. So
it was a 50s building that was made like it was like a half of a silo. So the whole inner skin of the hangar was corrugated sheet metal, which gave a ton of reflections. And there was there was 1x2 furring strips along the walls, but that didn't do anything to break up the sound. And so that made conversations have to be really, really intimate. We had to be real close to each other, and Derek and I were just about whispering to each other.
I thought you were going to say something else. You're just, I'm like, ooh.
We almost kissed. I was
like right up on the floor, like, let me tell you about the secrets of what's going on.
I went like this.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to be actually in my face.
Yeah, but Sam Much was my sound recordist. He does a great job. Worked on 2 films together in LA, and then on the sound portion, Ben Wilkins, he won the Oscar for Whiplash. He did the sound mix, and his company did the entire thing. And then Jed Dodge was the supervising EDR and dialogue editor. He was nominated for Game of Thrones. So those guys are awesome and top. So yeah, I'm the post side. Amazing veterans.
Awesome. We'll start wrapping things up here. We're talking about Agent Revelation, and there's information in the show notes down below or up above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. We urge you definitely check it out, January 22nd, and you can always look on our channel for more information about it. And I know Phil posts about it on Dark Discussions as well. What do you guys got coming up next? Who would like to go first?
All right, I have a film I'm shooting called Bad Currency I'll start shooting at the end of February. It was pushed due to coronavirus, but that's a heist movie, action, and that should be a lot of fun. And then I should go to Taiwan for 2 Lifetime movies back to back. And, yeah, so that's it so far. What happened with coronavirus,
What's Myth, Night of Gorgon?
It's a fantasy movie that I did with a director, John Lyde, who's one of my favorites that I've worked with a million times. I love his family, love everyone there. It's shot in Utah, but it's a great fantasy movie. They've done, they've done quite a few of them, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But they're great people. They do. I can't think of it. There's a Sci-Fi original series that they've done recently called. It's really big right now. I think it's
Z Nation.
I forgot the name. What is it called?
Z Nation, is that the one you're talking about?
No, it's they shoot it in. I'll think of it. I'll think of it when we stop. Rolling,
Usually the way it works.
Yeah.
The one I'm looking at, it has Tim Russ, which was Tuvok in Voyager.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Tim Russ. Okay, I was thinking of Mythica. I'm sorry. So this one has not shot yet. And Tim Russ, he's an amazing director, as well as a great actor. I mean, you guys know what he's been in, right?
Totally. And you got Marina Sirtis and Sean Patrick Flannery as well. So when are you looking to shoot that?
I do not know. So it's just the script right now. I think they're trying to get some more money in there. So we'll see.
Eve, also, another movie that just came out with you in it is getting some buzz, especially on Twitter, is Junkie.
Yes, Tim Russ directed that one as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was fun. I think we shot that like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe in Sacramento. A great cast, a lot of fun people in there, and it's the life of a girl who's trying to get sober, and the course of events, we're trying to find a missing person, and a lot of things unravel. But it was a lot of fun, and it's actually Shonda. She was the writer of that. It was based on her true life, and she wrote a book, and then they decided to make it into a film.
Yes.
Cool. Matt, what do you got in the works?
Well, I mean, Agent 3, I'm hoping. But other than that, currently I'm just working as the spokesperson for EVIC. So if you're interested in Airsoft or if you want to know more about it, that's where you'll find me on YouTube for now.
Very cool. Definitely we'll make sure we'll follow you there. And Derek, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, as I said, I'm completely focused on Agent 3. I'm almost through the script, so I'm super excited about it, but I've just been pretty much pounding away. It's on page 80 right now. And then we'll go pre-planning. We're already looking at who the cast will be, and in addition to bringing back everybody.
Interesting.
Where are we filming? Please say it somewhere else.
So
don't want to say.
Oh.
So we will start with you, Eve, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Where? Well, I'm mostly on Instagram, so it's Eve_Mauro, Mauro, and otherwise on Facebook, and I think it's just Eve Mauro.
Sounds good. Matt, where do you like people following you?
Instagram at Matt of All Trades is probably the best place right now. That's where I do the most interaction. Although, God, for somebody who does social media for a company every day of the week, I literally don't post any photos very often on this on the Instagram. But I respond to every message, or try to. Yeah, I've got a work account for that too. Or if you want to message me on Facebook or follow what I'm doing on Facebook, it's the same facebook.com/Matthew Ryan Burnett, actually. So there you go.
Derek?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at DK Ting, and then on Facebook a lot. Derek Ting FP is the vanity URL, and then on YouTube I'm gonna be posting some more behind the scenes stuff, so you can find me there too. DK Ting.
Very cool. And if you don't want to hit rewind to write all that information down, check the show notes down below or up above, and I have all that information. So it's just a click away. And Philip, where do you like people following you?
Folks can go to darkdiscussions.com, and basically it's an all genre website. So news, release notices, including Agent Revelation, was up there about a week ago, and podcasts, video, and columns. So
awesome stuff. Patsy.
Very similar to Phil, I am at throwdownthursdaypodcast.com. Got our latest episodes, articles. We've got you can also find me on the Throwdown Thursday podcast YouTube channel. We just did our New Year's Eve episode, our first live episode that we did for that particular show. Leo joined us for a couple hours. Phil, I think you popped in for a little bit.
Did, yep.
And you can find me on the Loudest Sports Show every Friday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast with my brothers and my 6-year-old niece, who also joined us for the live show. And just to plug this week's episode, you're definitely going to want to tune in, because this week Ashes and I are interviewing the legendary John Rhys Davies, and he will be joining us tomorrow. We're going to post that both as the podcast and to the YouTube channel. So we are very excited to be talking with him tomorrow.
Very cool. Can't wait to hear about it. Also, Loudest Sports Show you can find on Hellfire Radio tomorrow. I got that all scheduled. And speaking of that, for me, just Google Leo Pond. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which. But more importantly, I run a small podcast network called the Dorkening Podcast Network. And you just head on over to thedorkening.com or just Google the Dorkening. You'll find a bunch of stuff. And we have a new partnership with Hellfire Radio. Got about 60 hours of content going up each week, which is absolutely insane. So that covers 21 shows on our network. I want to thank everybody for watching, and check out Agent Revelation coming out January 22nd. We'll catch you guys later.
Okay.